Thank you very much that you agreed to join me and to express your opinion about the blockchain. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Petro. It's great to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Thank you. So let's come back to the very beginning of the 2021, when from each iron we heard tons of information about the crypto. So people started to sell everything that they have. They invest money, and actually everything goes well until the end of 2021. But suddenly markets went down. People lost a lot. I know the situations when people sold everything that they have, apartments, cars, all their life were in crypto. Some people, they try to defend themselves in the court. They went there, they go with the suit cases to the celebrities. Even now there are a lot of court hearings about it. But suddenly, several months ago, the US Security and Exchange Commission approved Bitcoin ETF. And again, from each iron, we heard information about the crypto that it can change your life. Tell please your opinion. What has changed? What is the difference between crypto in the end of 2021 and crypto now?
Well, I think there are many things that are still the same from 2021 and now. I think crypto is based on blockchain. Blockchain is a very powerful technology. It provides transparency, programmability, security, and none of those things have changed except to be better, to get even better and better and better. And so I don't see any change in that regard. I think there is a change, though, in terms of trust that has happened between the two timeframes that you talked about, with things like, FTX happening and other major rugs happening. Almost people teasing Petro about, I entered Web3 and the first thing that happened to me is I got rugged, almost like a badge of honor on them versus, oh my gosh, this should not be a badge of honor to have someone steal from you to enter the industry. I think that now what we have to do is we have to recover a lot of the trust that has been lost, and really work on user interfaces, work on educating the market so that people can believe again that crypto is a great alternative in some cases for what we have going on in terms of money.
Personally, I associate the increase of public interest to blockchain, first of all, as a lawyer, of course, with the regulation that now enacted all over the world. So investors, non-qualified investors, they can feel themselves much more insecure. But this is from one hand. But for another hand, difference between initial primary essence of blockchain cryptos is that it's independent and anonymous. But regulation is something different. How can they exist together?
Yes. In fact, I think that regulation in some cases goes together with success. In some cases, not always, depends on what the regulation is. But because the crypto landscape has undergone significant changes, reflecting the volatile nature of digital assets, but also the growing maturity of the space itself, I do think that regulation can help it. The regulatory environment for crypto has become much more defined. Several countries have really established clear guidelines and have taken a real assertive stance on regulation. And that includes things like, combating money laundering, tax evasion, and ensuring investor protection, as well as discussions on how to classify and how to regulate different types of assets themselves. So I do feel like regulation can help in a lot of ways, because then you know what you can do and you can't do. In a lot of places where there is no regulation, it's still hard to decide. Like, you want to do the right thing, you want to do the lawful thing, but you don't know what it is because it's too vague. And so I think sometimes not having regulation makes it harder than when you have regulation, you understand the boundaries.
Yes, why I'm so happy, because I have the same thoughts about the regulation. I'm pretty sure that it can help people to understand, first of all, what they are doing and the future, and about the responsibility, first of all. But on the other hand, I have friends who are technicians. They know what to do, how to make the program, how to make smart contracts, but they do know nothing about regulation, and they're very afraid of it. But they can create very, very interesting things. So this is the only thing that can stop from the developing of the industry as a whole.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree with you. I actually think this is happening both for crypto and for AI. I think that Europe right now is really taking the time to define even some AI frameworks and regulations. And in other parts of the world, there aren't any regulations. And so people don't know what they can do. Like, am I going to get sued for using this data? Is it going to be okay? And so I think the more there are questions, and you really, I just assume the best in people, and I assume that most people, not all, but most people want to do the right thing. And so if you give them guidelines, then they'll try to follow the guidelines. That's my perspective. I think regulation can be helpful, and lack of regulation can actually harm good people who really want to do the right thing.
About artificial intelligence, you told, and this is also very, very important topic to discuss, because again, it's a new technology, totally new. People again afraid of it. They try to use it everywhere in their life. But is it okay? How do you think can it stop from the mind developing of the people?
I don't think it can replace people, but I think it can augment certain tasks. And I think maybe in the future, it could also reduce the number of manual tasks that you have to do. I was just looking at a survey, and the survey showed that there are a variety of tasks that can be automated by AI. So think about, some administrative support, maybe some legal documentation that you do over and over and over again. Maybe it is, selecting a restaurant, or, creating an itinerary. I just created an itinerary for my vacation using ChatGPT. Maybe before it would have taken me hours to do that, or I would have gone to a travel agent. But now the itinerary is really good. I said, I want to go to these places. I don't want to, I want to do them close together. Here's preferences, even for food. Here's preferences for food. Recommend restaurants along the way for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It did an amazing job on that. So I do think that there are tasks that can be augmented and helped out. I don't think it's going to replace us. Like, I still had to ask it, like, what to do. I still had to tell it what my preferences were. It did not know that. Even think about driving a Tesla. The Tesla can drive itself, but if you don't tell it where to go, it's not going to know where to go, right? Maybe in the future, it'll look at my calendar. I'll jump in the car and it will be, oh, Sandy has an appointment here, so take her to that customer or that partner. But it's not there yet. There's still tasks for the humans to do in thinking and creating and directing.
Let's come back to the regulation. In your social media, I read a story about the airplane company, and they tried to use artificial intelligence for making some internal documents. But in the end, they faced big problems with the clients and even fines. Can you tell about this in detail? What has happened?
Well, if there's an old saying that says, if you put junk in, you'll get junk out. And so what you really have to make sure of is what the AI engine is being trained on. It's going to base its theory on that. So for example, I started working on AI in 2013. Back when I was at IBM, we fed an AI engine a bunch of novels, 40,000 novels that were romance novels. And then we showed the engine a picture of two sumo wrestlers. So what did we put in? We put in stuff that wasn't real, right? Because it was romance novels. And we asked it to interpret a sumo wrestling picture. And so what came back was very different than what was actually happening in the picture, where two guys are fighting. Because it was fed all the romance novels, it came back and really articulated, that they were falling in love and all this kind of stuff, right? So I think that's a very vivid example that just shows that what you put in will be what you get out. Another great example is on healthcare, in particular, women's healthcare. It wasn't until 1993 that women were mandatorily included as subjects in clinical research. 1993. And so that's a 17-year-old gap in translational research. And so what happens now is if you use the data, there's still that big gap, and so you can find errors. A great example of this is researchers found this amazing state-of-the-art approach to AI being used in a hospital that had a 70% success rate of predicting liver cancer or liver disease from a blood test. However, because the data was only selected from men, there were 44% of cases in women that were missing because the data wasn't there. So while it had a 70% success rate overall, women were missed 44% of the time. And so that just tells you that you've got to have the right data that goes in order to get the right output to come out.
In Europe, there is such a regulation as GDPR, and it provides the basic human right to be forgotten. It means that in each moment, the person can go to the operator of his personal data and ask him to delete it totally, or change it, or to show him as much information as they have about this person. But due to the blockchain technology, it's almost impossible, it's impossible to delete any data or change them. There are a lot of scientific approaches what to do in this case. You as a person, are you afraid that your personal data can be inside the blockchain and it can be, somebody can reach it? But again, the question who, because the system is decentralized. Your own opinion, should it be so much regulated?
I would say it this way. What is the risk today? Data today is stored in a relational database, right? And how many breaches we've seen with just data being broken into today if data is stored in a relational database, right? There are credit cards that your personal information has been stolen, or banks where they've released, your balance to someone, or, even, cities being held hostage with birth certificates and stuff and having to pay ransom to get that back. I think security is really important regardless of where you store your data. And data stored on the blockchain is generally considered very secure because of the cryptography involved, because of the decentralization, and because of the consensus mechanism. And therefore, data once recorded, it's really hard without consensus, almost impossible. I'm not going to say impossible, almost impossible for you to change anything or alter it, making blockchains, I think, more resistant to tampering and fraud. In a traditional database, they rely on a centralized system, which can be vulnerable to hacking, data breaches, and insider threats. So their security measures really heavily depend on the organization's protocols, resources, and people as well. Now, on the blockchain, privacy could be a concern because if you have a public blockchain where that data is available or visible to everybody, that could be an issue, right? Because transactions, while they could be, protected, sometimes they can be tracked back to the individuals if you've got a very sophisticated analysis technique. However, I know there are advancements in these privacy-focused technologies like zero proof, where, instead of, if you want to confirm that I'm over 21, you don't have to know all the information about me. All you need to know is, are you over 21? So some of these zero proof knowledge bases are really helping with that concern. But again, in the Web 2 world today, Privacy is controlled by access permission, and it is only as strong as the database's security measures. So if that database is ever compromised, sensitive data can also be misused. So I do think that blockchain and kind of traditional databases have their strengths and their weaknesses concerning data security, data privacy, data risk. And I do think that, both have to evolve. I do feel that blockchain, though, has already taken a lot of measures to address its current limitations, particularly around privacy and scalability. And I still am seeing, in fact, just yesterday, I read about another data breach that came out. Somebody sent me a note and said, we think our system was hacked again. It was not a blockchain database, by the way. It was another system that they thought. So that's my perspective. I think that blockchain could get us there better and faster once some of these limitations were addressed.
As for me, the public interest in such cases is much more higher. It opens a big opportunities for persons, first of all, and for business. And of course, there should be some consensus with the data protection. In one of your articles, you predicted a strong growth of blockchain in AI technology market. Why do you think so? And what business has to do in order to be ready for it? And should they be ready?
So I think that blockchain is going to take off because of AI. I think that's one reason. I think as well as crypto comes back, like, Bitcoin is I don't know if it's still there or not, but it was at an all-time high. I think that it's going to get more and more use. Let's talk about the AI side. So on the AI side, one of the biggest issues with AI is deep fakes. And in order for you to protect against deep fakes and be able to alert to deep fakes, blockchain is an amazing technology because it's trust verified. It can help in that fight. So, for example, the Pope's picture was published. What if you had a green check mark by that picture that said, "Look, I verify. I'm the Pope, and I verify that." Or you have a magazine article, and there's a quote in there. You have a green check mark that says, "Yes, Sandy Carter, valid on the blockchain," so you can see the validation, agrees with that. Or a video, right? I don't know if you guys saw the video of Tom Hanks in a dental commercial. And he came out really strong saying, "I did not do that. We need technology to validate that it's actually us and not a bot." Blockchain is amazing at that. And so I do believe there will be a growth in blockchain over time because of the convergence of a lot of these technologies.
Very good idea to combine AI technologies with the blockchain in order to avoid the deep fakes. Amazing. It's really good. I never thought even about this.
Yeah. So I believe that every company should have something called a rabbit team. And a rabbit team should be looking at not just blockchain and AI, but should be looking at all kinds of emerging technology. I have a book out that's called The Tiger and the Rabbit. It's all about forming a rabbit team. And it's a cross-functional team that understands new technologies and can assess them, not just by themselves, but as a whole, the convergence, spatial computing, AI, blockchain, et cetera. I think all of those things are extremely important in this new space. And so for me, I really do advocate that there is a leader over emerging tech that can evaluate a business's use of responsible AI, use of blockchain, use of spatial. All of those, by the way, collect data about you and understand how they develop a governance framework around that. How do they train people? I think all of these things are super important.
Yeah, thank you for your thoughts, for your opinion. It's very important. I promote personally the regulation and the mass adoption of the technology that we have to rely on it, and it will lead us to the really great future. This is a new step, actually. So thank you very much. I hope see you soon.
Thank you. Thanks for a great interview. I hope to see you soon too. Thank you so much.